Hello, welcome to Movie Summaries. Today we are summarizing a 2018 thriller, mystery movie called The Clovehitch Killer. Fair warning, there are spoilers in this summary. Enjoy, and be sure to subscribe to watch more videos weekly, and hit like. Tyler Burnside is a 16-year-old high schooler who lives with his Christian family in the small remote town of Clarksville, Kentucky. The small town and its residents are still haunted by the memory of the Clovehitch Killer, an infamous serial killer who bound and strangled 10 known female victims before going MIA 10 years ago. The town hosts an annual memorial for the victims. Tyler lives with his father, Don Burnside. The Burnsides are a middle-class family with limited income, so Don has to cut corners, which sometimes means not allowing Tyler to go on expensive scout leadership camps with his high school friends. One night, Tyler steals his father's truck to meet a girl named Amy from his school. While making out with Tyler in the truck, Amy finds a crumpled-up photograph of bound-up women between the truck seats. Amy is grossed out by the photo, and she calls Tyler out for being a pervert. Tyler tries to explain that it is not his truck, but Amy refuses to hear him out and orders him to drop her back home. The next day, Tyler tries to talk to Amy at church, but she ignores him. Meanwhile, Tyler's friend Billy is worried about the presence of a girl named Cassie outside the church. Cassie is an atheist and a social outcast who always camps outside the community church on Sundays. Cassie's mother abandoned her 10 years ago, and currently she lives with her alcoholic father. It doesn't take long for word about the photo to spread among the other teenagers in Tyler's church and scout troop. They start thinking of him as some sort of BDSM fetishist and ostracize him. Meanwhile, Tyler, who knows that the creepy photo belonged to his God-fearing, holy book-thumping father, begins to look at Don differently. He starts spying on his dad. He gets curious, so he checks out Don's private shed and comes across a box full of bondage magazines and a Polaroid photograph of a beaten and bound woman named Nora Delvin. Nora's picture says, "Lucky's favorite," and Tyler begins suspecting that his father could have something to do with the Clovehitch Killer. The next day rolls around, and Tyler tries to talk to Billy about the bondage photographs and the possibility that Don could be the Clovehitch Killer, but Billy wants nothing to do with Tyler and refuses to hear him out. He can't seem to forget what he found, and he decides to talk to Cassie about it. Tyler asks Cassie to help him learn more about the Clovehitch victims. He hides the fact that he found disturbing pictures in his father's shed, so Cassie is initially hesitant and suspicious of Tyler's sudden interest in the victims. The two later meet at Barbara's home, where Cassie shows Tyler a collection of evidence, which includes graphic photographs of the Clovehitch victims. It is revealed that the serial killer always uses the same entry points to enter his victims' homes. Moreover, the serial killer got his name after his favorite Clovehitch knot that he ties around his victim's body. Cassie also shows Tyler a necklace that belonged to one of the victims named Sasha Peterson, who was found outside Tyler's church, even though Sasha never went to that church. I guess that's why Cassie always camps outside the church in her free time, hoping to catch the deranged killer slipping. To spend more time with Cassie and learn about the Clovehitch Killer, Tyler lies to his parents that he's going to start tutoring for extra money after school. However, Dawn eventually catches him with Cassie and mistakes Cassie for Tyler's girlfriend. Dawn's excited and asks Tyler to bring her over for dinner. Tyler plays along and convinces Cassie to come over to his home for dinner, so Dawn would get off his back. Tyler advises her against talking to his family about her atheism and their Clovehitch investigation. The dinner goes really well, until Cassie starts asking Dawn about camping and tying knots. Cassie begins suspecting that Tyler thinks that his father is the Clovehitch Killer, and later confronts him about it. Tyler admits that he found a graphic picture of Nora Delvin in Dawn's shed, which said, "Lucky's favorite," but Cassie laughs off the suggestion that Dawn could be the serial killer, and insists that Dawn is just into some weird stuff. Later that night, Cassie shows up at Tyler's window and tells him she believes him. She reveals that she went over to Barbara's home and found that one of the Clovehitch victims received mail from a man named Lucky 1 week before she was killed. The two then investigate the shed again, but find the secret compartment empty. However, they manage to find blueprints to a BDSM dungeon hidden inside the compartment. After Cassie leaves, Tyler studies the blueprint and realizes that it is the blueprint of his home. The blueprint leads him to a secret crawl space in his house, which leads to a secret room that stinks. Inside the room, Tyler finds a large box containing the driver's licenses of the known Clovehitch victims and 3 other women, as well as more Polaroid photographs of beaten and bound women. Dawn eventually realizes that Tyler has been snooping around the shed and the dungeon. He takes him camping to explain himself. Why on earth would you agree to go camping after finding all those things? Dawn tells his son that the items inside the box were Rudy's. Dawn also claims that he too was interested in BDSM when he was young, and that's why Tyler found the photo in the truck. But Rudy was worse. When Don found out about Rudy's escapades, he ordered him to turn himself to the police. The latter crashed his car and attempted to commit suicide. Don claims that he kept the evidence in hopes of one day giving it to the victims' families, but he couldn't bring himself to ruin the reputation of his family. Tyler accepts the explanation, and the two burn all the evidence. Tyler ends the investigation. Although Cassie remains unsatisfied with Don's story, Cassie keeps trying to contact Tyler. So Don decides to send Tyler to a scout leadership camp. Don also sends his wife Cindy and daughter to visit Cindy's mother for 2 weeks. Alone at home, and his photo collection gone, Don becomes restless for BDSM material. Left with no choice, the father decides to photograph himself dressed as a woman in bondage positions to replenish his collection. Halfway through his photo session, someone arrives at the door, and Don frantically puts on some decent clothes to answer the door. It is Cassie, who has come looking for Tyler. She notices Don's Polaroid camera, and Don offers to take her picture. Fortunately, Cassie suddenly gets a call from her dad and has to leave. After she leaves, Don looks at the pictures, but they have not come out as he had hoped, and he angrily throws them away. Freak. Afterwards, Don stalks a woman he saw at a grocery store through the town, and after casing her house, he breaks into her home through the basement window. The woman is sleeping on the couch with her TV on, making it easier for the seasoned serial killer to subdue her. When she finally notices him, she attempts to scream, but he points a revolver at her. He pretends to be a harmless robber to keep the woman from panicking about being the Clovitch killer's victim. He takes a picture of her and orders her to walk to her bedroom. He keeps an eye out and asks her to tie her hands with rope. However, when she does a terrible job, Don berates her for not knowing how to do a simple task and ties her by himself before telling her that Lucky likes your shampoo. Later, he ties her hands and feet together before covering her face. To Don's astonishment, as he starts taking her picture, Tyler arrives with a rifle and orders his father to back off. Although a bit taken aback, Don doesn't seem as fazed as one would hope he would be. He is confident that Tyler won't shoot him. The movie then flashes back. Before Tyler got on the bus for the scout camp, it is revealed that Tyler went to meet Cassie outside Nora Delvin's house. After she left a note for him, Cassie reveals that she wanted to show him Nora's house. She then kisses him, and he follows her inside Nora Delvin's home. She shows him the place where Nora was murdered, and asks Tyler what his dad told him about the photos. Tyler tells her that his Uncle Rudy is the Clovitch killer, but Cassie doesn't believe it, because she found new fibers of rope in the pit under his house. Cassie reveals that the psychopath also killed her mother. Tyler is taken aback by the revelation, as he thought that her mother abandoned her, but Cassie says that she remembers seeing the Clovitch killer breaking into her home and tying her mother up and making her cry when she was 5 years old. The killer locked Cassie in the bathroom, and she had to turn on the water so she didn't have to listen to her mother's screams. Cassie was traumatized by the incident, and she couldn't tell anyone about it at the time. After some years passed by, Cassie heard about the Clovitch killer and instantly realized that he killed her mother. She told her dad about it, but he didn't believe her. When Cassie reveals that her mother's name was Crystal Harper, Tyler admits seeing the driver's license of a woman named Crystal Harper under his house. After this revelation, Tyler decides to skip the camp and instead teams up with Cassie to keep an eye on Don. The two realize that Don is stalking a woman from the grocery store. Afraid of getting caught while tailing him physically, Tyler breaks into his own home to install a GPS device tracker application on Don's mobile phone. However, before Tyler could sneak out, Don returned to his room. The next day, the GPS tracker helps the two track Don going into someone's home. After Don leaves, the two learn that it is the home of the woman from the supermarket. They also find a Clovitch knot at the property. Damn, time to call the police. However, when Tyler and Cassie go inside his home to confront Don, they find him missing. Fearing the worst, Tyler grabs Don's rifle and rushes to the woman's home with Cassie. They sneak into her home, using Don's infamous entry point. The movie cuts back to the confrontation. Tyler holds his father off at gunpoint and asks Cassie to free the bound woman. Don lies to Tyler that he and the woman are having an affair. He also claims that Cindy knows about their affair. Don's audacity and blatant lies enrages Cassie, but he could care less, and he tells Tyler that if this gets out, Cindy and Susie would be badly hurt. What a snake. Seeing Tyler getting influenced by Don's words, Cassie rushes to grab Don's revolver, but he grabs her and slams her head against the wall. Don assures his son that he means no harm, and he tries to win his trust by emptying his loaded revolver. Tyler eventually lowers the rifle and hands it over to Don. Don then points the gun at his son and pulls the trigger without blinking. However, the rifle shoots a blank, and Tyler is in utter disbelief. The boy quickly snaps out of his shock and attacks Don. A struggle follows, and Don eventually overpowers his son. He almost strangles Tyler, but Cassie again comes to his defense and knocks the maniac unconscious. Finally, Cassie proceeds to call the police, but Tyler grabs her hand and stops her. Tyler? Come on. A few days have passed, and Dawn has been declared missing. Tyler's family remains stable, but when they are informed by the police that Dawn's body has been discovered in the woods, and his death is considered a suicide, Tyler's mother breaks into tears. Meanwhile, Tyler worries about being exposed, but Cassie assures him nothing will happen to them, because the bound woman was passed out the entire time, and she didn't see Dawn's or their faces. At the church, Tyler delivers a eulogy for Dawn, intercut with scenes of him and Cassie dragging Dawn, unconscious, into the forest, and framing his death as a hunting accident. While cleaning his gun, the jungle scene ends, with Dawn slowly waking up, and Tyler pointing a pistol at his head. Tyler ends the eulogy with, "Dad, if you can hear me, I love you." Hope you enjoyed our summary. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos weekly. Thanks.